What is up, friends? Welcome into episode 2 of Map5Podcast. You got Phil, Jeff, Billy, and Ethan here to talk about, well, whatever we feel like. And today's topics, a little bit later on, we're going to get into the Berry Blast. We're going to talk about some Collegiate, how it fits into Path2Pro. But first, we got some news.
Yes, so do you know I'm talking out of turn because I'm looking through the Runner Show. There's actually Billy's articles. I'm gonna step away from the mic, Billy. Let's.
I'm looking at the Runner Show right now and getting it popped up for me.
We're prepared. We are so prepared.
Look.
Such a smooth run in from Jeff, and then just. in fairness, I took the reins and steered us into a wall.
Wow, Overwatch Empowerment Cup
There
is
we
the first
go.
thing on our docket today, and I tell you what, Chase has been putting this together. Threw it out there. Vite Ramen actually got behind it as well, and has thrown into the prize pool as well. This is one of the best things that I have seen coming out of 2021 so far, gentlemen. I want to say, 2022. Sorry, I'm still getting used to putting that in all of my stuff. And
COVID robbed a year, if not 2 years, from everybody's brain.
True.
So I mean, it's not your
In
fault.
my mind, it's still 2016, mate. So
The good thing is, okay, so one is really going towards marginalized communities within our beloved game. That's the first part. It really wants to empower them, especially with everything that went down with those two dickheads over in Europe. One of them that's not welcome back in my America anymore. Looking at you, Semler. But still, well, I mean, this is a pink elephant in the room. That's why all this came about. Well, when they started doing their bullshit, we decided. Chase took it very personally, and this is the love child that came about of that whole uncomfortable, cringe, OG, old guard esports. I am esports. No, we are esports.
Yeah.
Not the marginalized communities are part of us as well, and I love to see this. I love the fact that Vite Ramen went on to it as well and attached themselves on it. And then Monkey Bubble and Reflash are going to be doing the production for this. Massive props to them because we all love Monkey Bubble and Reflash here. But I mean, still, just to throw that weight behind there, the quality of the production behind there, putting this up there alongside, the Chase Streamer Showdown. I mean, they're giving that same level of attention to this empowerment camp. I could not be prouder of this. This is going to be a fantastic event. I can't wait to see where this leads and how this might affect, the whole landscape of competitive Overwatch moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's a little. You got to be a little bit careful, right? Because it's specifically about marginalized genders, and then to make Chase the focus, kind of defeats the point. However, Chase has done this entirely off their own back. You've got to give the kid and again, I think I'm twice Chase's age, which is
it's true.
Embarrassing for a bunch of reasons we don't have time to go into right now. But if I had my life together as much as Chase seems to have their life together, I would be probably a millionaire by now. So keep your eyes on Chase, everybody, because he's going to keep on doing big things.
He's not even 18 yet. That's the beautiful thing. He is he's an old soul in a new millennium body, and that's why I love the kid so much. And he is a kid because he's not 18 yet. And I've told him in private messages that we've gone back and forth. He's always been very willing to reach out to me and ask me about things, especially like the LGBTQ community. So I've always found that talking with him, he gets it. And that's the biggest thing, is that he gets it. He understands why the marginalized communities need to have more representation, why they need to have stuff specifically geared towards them. That's why I love Chase so much. That's why I really bring his name up. Other than that, I mean, this is all about the marginalized community, and I could not be prouder of him. I'm throwing all my weight behind it. I probably won't be able to cast it, not putting my chips into the bag there, but I have to work on Sundays, and a lot of these things.
Can I also just jump in very quickly? I was super impressed. Anytime there is any kind of community opportunity that comes up, right? I'm a little bit guilty of this. Everyone's a little bit guilty of this. Oh yeah, I'll come and cast that. Actually, everybody has been very, very restrained on this, which I think great, because there are obviously a lot of female, non-binary, marginalized gender casters in this community. Let's give them a chance to do this. So it was super cool to see that. Or super cool to not see, super cool to see the thing that didn't happen. The normal people going, yeah, let me cast it. Everyone just made some space.
Is we have a lot of people who obviously are female or non-binary who are broadcast talent. A lot of people who want to be broadcast talent, right? Who are in marginalized communities, and it's time to give them some space because they need it, especially right now.
Yeah, this panel of 4 white dudes really blazing the trail here on inclusivity. Quite
well,
right.
yeah,
Oh Lord.
we did our part by staying the hell out of the way. Like that's
Exactly.
It's not our place. We're just gonna give it a platform, right? That's what we're gonna do. That's
exactly. No, in all seriousness, and I mean, Chase doing wonderful things for the community, and this is amazing. We've even got some rosters that have been announced.
True.
That we can take a look at here. Let me go ahead and pull that up. First off, we've got Cloudburst.
Yeah. So Ethan, you actually, I was scrolling through the O8 hashtag. You're the one that was excited about this. Why? What are they showing?
You know what? So I look at this roster, and I just see people I recognize. You good, fun people. Spamtix, they do a lot of memes on the timeline. A lot of good memes. Big fan. And Flyaway is another person I've talked to and engaged with a little bit. So yeah, I looked at the roster, saw some names I recognize. It's going to be a good team as well, and I like some good quality Overwatch. So yeah, it's the first one that really, when I looked at the OAC hashtag, I was like, yo, this is exciting.
There's a couple of names in here that I recognize, Spamtix and iRemy. Remy is actually from CGL. And has made the move over to the PC scene, and I didn't
even see Remy there.
Yeah, Remy's in there.
No.
And they came out a couple of months ago. Very proud of them to recognize what they truly are. And I mean, I've had dealings with this person for almost 2 years now. So very proud of Remy, and Spamtix is somebody that we see a lot on Twitter. Very big social media presence, and to see them there as well, I'm just over the moon for this roster. It looks so good. Scarlet as well.
Got a comment that I do actually remember seeing this team name. I couldn't find them when I was going through Twitter, but Team Mommies is a team that we should watch out for.
Yes.
Let me see if I can quickly drag that up for you guys to talk about another team.
All right, we'll go on to Lava Lilies on stream here. A team that has been around, and we're talking about. We've all had a chance, the honor, the privilege to cast this team at some point. Lava Lilies make their return, and I mean this is the perfect forum. So always excited to watch them play. Always a fun team to watch.
I am proud to see Ryu on this roster because Ryu is a German wunderkind as far as working the tank line. We'll have times where they will play in the off-tank role as well, especially with Azaria going out there. So, I mean, I tell you what, this team looks pretty darn fantastic. And we're seeing Travis there as well as a manager. I'm absolutely happy to see that. So we'll see how this team goes about.
Jeff, I don't know if you've got time to add this, but I did find it was on Somnus's Twitter.
Oh, this is a cool roster.
It is actually a very cool roster.
Yeah, give this time.
The other thing, actually, we did want to shout out very briefly is that, again, while scrolling through the hashtag OWEC, Overwatch Empowerment Cup, Stevens Esports have actually come out and said, so Stevens Esports, a collegiate esports organization. I believe they've been in NACE, possibly ECAC, but they are the first US collegiate team to offer an all-female roster, and they've stated that they are going to be watching OEC, as many OEC matches as possible, and offering scholarships to people, which is that is a phenomenal thing to be able to say that you're in a position to do that. It's really, really good stuff.
I've got nothing better to say than let's go Stevens. I mean, that's just a fantastic statement, and it's putting your money where your mouth is, and that's something that we really need to see on the collegiate scene, especially is these teams willing to do this. I mean, it's all for here. Those of you that are in America, we have something called Title IX. Title IX is where you have to offer the opposite sex the chance to participate in a sport that they cannot normally participate in on their own. So let's say American football, it's not offered to women. So women are actually allowed to play on men's sports teams. The same thing is converse, where there's not volleyball for men. Men are actually allowed to play on women's teams if it's not offered in the state. That's usually done by the state regulatory commission. So seeing Stevens Esports do this is a wonderful boon to Title IX. I could not be more pleased. This was a late minute find that our wonderful Phil found while going through the OWEC
Oh yeah, it was such hard work, Billy. I slaved for hours on the OWET hashtag.
Trying to glow him up here, and he's being a sassy bitch.
To be fair, dubbing on Twitter is like a difficult task. Like having to read tweets. Like
so
genuinely, it's a difficult task.
Yeah. One of the other rosters we should highlight is actually being coached in part by Flutie. In fact, Flutie from ISU Redbirds, as well as Ship and Moser, two pretty big mainstays in the NA Tier 2 scene, will be coaching Sempiternal. I have to say, other than Nyan Sox, who I recognize from their work on Twitter, not that familiar with the roster, but any roster that has Flutie backing them is probably a roster to watch. That's Sempiternal. Keep an eye on them as well. And yeah, hopefully we get a lot more than just the ones we've had time to read out today.
Yep, and I do have that Somnus roster ready to pull up as well. Let's take a look at that one. Team Mommies.
Deku and SK. Those are two names that I recognize right out the gate.
Yeah, those three.
And Arietta, and actually Eli is a coach as well. Eli, a EU player who I've known for a few years. So yeah, great of them to be offering some coaching. And this, another really fun team. Like regardless of what else happens from the tournaments, like they're going to be entertaining teams to watch.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I love this. This is amazing.
It's gorgeous, first of all. It's cute and gorgeous. And, I mean, it absolutely describes what roles they're going to play, actually.
So, Jeff, this segues nicely into something you'd spotted on the subject of representation for women and marginalized genders in esports.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into it, but basically came across a CNN article talking about a Valorant tournament that is Game Changers. That is an all-inclusive tournament aimed kind of at the same directive. But for this to be covered by CNN is huge. Like this is a very large, national publication in the United States. Is a just traditional news organization that's been around for many decades. And so it's not just having your standard esports publication to cover this, but the fact that these tournaments for women and marginalized groups are getting national coverage, I thought was pretty important. And I feel like esports is really leading the charge in this. And where traditional sports still feel 20 years behind in some regards when it comes to this topic. I think, in esports, we're fighting for it, and we talk about, you get a lot of unpleasantness, and then, we get a lot of, you feel like you have to claw tooth and nail for everybody to be on equal footing, and there's still a lot of work to do. Don't get me wrong, but esports is leading the charge, and it's things like the Empowerment Cup are moving things forward in a big way. So I just thought it was a cool note.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, here. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
So let's have a look down the other news items. We do, of course, have another community tournament coming up. That's from Nata. For those of you that are unfamiliar with Nata, a pretty prominent Tier 2 coach. As somebody who is currently trying to get a girlfriend up the curve rather quickly on Overwatch, the little shorts he puts out on YouTube have been particularly helpful, and just generally quite a nice guy, quite a good person to have in the community. So we're looking to give what support we can to Nata in the community tournament. So hopefully you'll see a little bit more on the retweet side of things. But yeah, another good tournament to get involved with.
I have a note on that tournament. I've been talking to Nata and raving about this tournament. And the professional interactions that they've had and the conversations I've had with them. Very excited. It's going to be good. It's focused on developing players and giving a spotlight to players so that people can progress throughout the scene. Which, not entirely similar goals to the Empowerment Cup, but not entirely different as well. So we're going to see some new faces and some players progress in the next couple of months, and that's really exciting.
Yeah,
it's important to note
more opportunities.
Yeah, and this is it's because being open to many SRs. To where you can develop, you can play other extremely talented teams that are at your level, and that's how you get better. Play people where you'll just feel like it's a waste of time. Like a diamond team trying to play a proper T3 team, you're not going to really learn anything just because it's such a gap. But you get to play other good diamond teams that are really good, and suddenly that teamwork just starts to slowly mold and starts to progress, and that's I think it's awesome. I'm definitely keeping an eye out for this one. It is Overwatch Tranquility are the ones producing that one, so we'll keep you updated as we learn more, get closer to this event, and give it some coverage, do some recaps or whatever we decide to do. We'll figure that out. Kind of just we play it by ear. We talk about whatever the heck we want to talk about. So
it's the game plan is it gets to Friday morning, we go, oh God, what's happened this week? What's happened in the past 2 weeks? And it's so run a show.
So we don't start planning on Friday morning. Like, don't misunderstand that. We're planning all week here, but no, definitely there's absolutely audibles thrown in. And wait, we got to make sure we give this some voice. And hey, we should probably expand the time on this. We have to stay flexible. It's things happen. News happens.
Speaking of news happening, big things happening in the past week.
Great segue. Same brain
cells. The note we have here is Noble exploded, and that was all pretty dramatic for those of you that were around on Twitter for the momentary disappearance of the Noble GG Twitter page. And it turns out that a lot of people, particularly the social media and more creatives associated with Noble, have not been paid for a lot of work they've undertaken rather. And this was all kicked off by we've got Ridderus's post up here, but it's kicked off again by Chase, to bring it up twice in this episode. Kicked off by Chase retweeting a tweet from the Noble social media managers on the Noble social media account saying, we've not been paid and we're not working. That was gone in like 10 seconds, but Chase captured it, retweeted it, and the whole thing fell apart from there. So lots of shady goings on here from the head honcho at Noble.
I mean, even, not being paid aside, which is absolutely crap.
Yeah.
The fact that they were locked out from their body of work, being able to put that forward to other orgs to show what they have been able to do, I think that is the bigger issue here, is that they have no proof of what they've done. And they had got completely locked out of it. And I believe it was Jay from Australia, big Monkey Bubble
head producer
tech guy, and producer. I believe he actually got some kind of a link that was able for them to get their works out of that.
The Noble, that right? Noble Twitter is now up. I believe it was just sort of taken into offline mode. So hopefully that means that everyone can go and grab their work before it disappears again.
Mm-hmm.
I think a thing that was particularly telling was that Noble GG, the main Twitter account, that disappeared. The cryptocurrency affiliated account stayed up the entire time.
Yeah.
Well, and what was so
I'm disappointed.
particularly appalling about all that was the fact that that's what silenced the banker. That's what put everything on hold, was trying to start this whole crypto thing and start these crypto investments, and doing that rather than paying your people. And it froze the bank accounts. And I mean, there was some other, talk about like paying your people over PayPal. Like, that's, if you've got more than a handful of employees, or it's not, I mean, if they're actual recurring payments, like there are proper pay sites, payroll kind of sites and things you can use, programs you can use that are way more official, way more secure. So, I mean, it was just kind of slapdash, seemingly
it was real
all the way
cowboy
around.
Stuff.
Yeah.
It was just weird. I don't know if you've got the Reader's tweet up yet, but I want to kind of talk about that as well, because this is important. I think it's important to know, because when it comes to these sort of sagas, it's not Noble. It's not just Noble, right? And I feel like a lot of people were very hypocritical on this topic. I know in Tier 2, Tier 3 Overwatch, this is a massive problem. A lot of players unpaid, social media staff unpaid.
Casters.
If you're in Tier 2 or you're Tier 2 Team Plus, if you're a Tier 2 Team Plus, you have a consistent income. You should be paying your staff, potentially your players as well, or at least have some sort of ongoing agreement with those players.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that, right? And I feel like a lot of people who were commenting on Noble also are extremely guilty of not paying people properly and efficiently. So, yeah.
Throwing stones in a glass house kind of scenario.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Okay, well, I think that's about all we can say on that one. But I wanted to bring up this next point because it fell into my lap, where it fell into my Twitter feed. 01 Esports recruiting a new head coach. Now, the reason I think this is interesting is you can define success on the path to pro in a number of different ways. Probably the most robust one is what is your return on investment? And 01 Esports, according to Wikipedia, were the highest earning tier 2 team in the entirety of 2021, and in large part because of the Saudi E-Leagues and because the money in the Saudi E-Leagues is huge. And so this actually becomes a really, really good opportunity for anybody looking to make a career as a coach, particularly if you are in well, they're not region locked, but I assume they would prefer somebody who is at least on the same time schedule. I think that is a fantastic opportunity. And I believe Get Amazed was actually the 01 Esports coach up until very recently. I'd love to know why
they've got a good record
happened.
with head coaches. A really good record of head coaches. They had IQB and then they Get Amazed. They both succeeded tremendously in their own. So it seems to be a good professional environment for head coaches to get value, be able to do their jobs as well. You sometimes find a team environment where a head coach isn't able to do their job as a head coach, and that definitely doesn't seem to be the case there.
I'd love to get either Get Amazed or IQB on the podcast. That would be amazing. That'd be amazing. Yeah. Put the good vibes out there, friends. And get some good guests in here once we kind of get our feet underneath us.
Yeah, I think we can probably rattle through the next two fairly quickly, as some of this is fairly boilerplate stuff. Certainly the next one. Those of you that have not been living under a rock for the past few days would have seen that we do have a new experimental patch out. This one drafted by Lemon Kiwi Jake Wanted, who I believe prefers to go by Jay Lin now, and ML7, each tackling a different group of characters, maybe not necessarily characters you would expect them to be handling in maybe one or two instances. And we've actually got the experimental Flash Ops tournament coming up inside the next couple of weeks. Have you guys had a chance to play the experimental patch yet?
I tried to, and they had already taken it down because
it is back up now.
They needed some chances to tune it, but the response that I've seen, especially on Lemon's Discord, and seeing her reactions on Twitter, it was highly received. Some of it may have been a little bit OP.
Yeah.
But I mean, for the most part, it was very well received.
Yeah, I've only managed one round so far. I played Zarya on Blizzard World. We blasted them off no problems there, but they managed to get bunkered up under an archway with the healing turrets from Symmetra, and it meant that I couldn't do any damage, and they had all the healing in the world, and it just kind of stalled out there. So it's an interesting patch. I think it's a lot of fun, but there is definitely some tuning required here.
Well, it's also, you got to change your approach. You got to change your play style entirely with almost all of the tanks.
I just want to run it down mid. That's all I want to do.
Yeah, Zarya can't do that anymore.
I don't want to think.
Half damage for all tanks. Like Zarya's role has changed on this experimental card, and I'm very curious to see this tournament. And this is where the prize pools are fairly significant for this.
Yeah.
$25,000 in total prize pooling for NA, where it was $10,000 for the last experimental cup. So I mean, significant increase there. EMEA, we're looking at just over $10,000 in total prizing. Let's see, $12,000 in total prizing, math and stuff. You got Korea has $67,000 in total prizing. I mean, it's not bad. Not bad at all.
In a long dry off season, it's pretty good.
And I
was a little bit disappointed though with it because I mean, like, it looks fun. It's going to be a fun tournament. I know it's experimental, but I would have liked to see, some changes that might have a chance of getting into the game, right? And, kind of more relevant to where we are now. But I actually think this is also a pretty good idea, just try something completely different.
I mean, like the sleep dart icon.
Sleep in the kill feed will stay.
Sleep in the kill feed and the sleep dart icon. Like, that shows up for your teammates so that they can see an enemy has been slept from, like, around a corner or something. I think that's also a really cool change that could stay. But it'll still be minor stuff like that. And you make valid points. We're probably getting about due for a patch like this that is a little bit more serious. Though that's hard to with the beta just on the horizon. There's murmurs of the beta going all over the place.
The one thing that's not in our list of news.
Yeah, well, it's still murmurs, right? It's not really news yet. There's rumors going around about the beta. Like that's the extent of the news on that. But with that said, I think having an experimental patch this close to that would be very difficult to implement. So logistically, I don't know if it'd work, but I think this is a fun thing. Looking forward to it. I mean, Monkey Bubble once again handling this, and
friends of the pod.
Yeah, indeed, and they're gonna have some good stuff going on, and I'm looking forward to this cup for sure.
Yep.
And then our final news piece for the week is San Francisco announcing an official partnership with O2 Blast. Ocean, I'm going to defer to you. You're our APAC expert here. Yep. What's the reasoning behind exciting. This, and what does this mean for Tier 2?
I mean, this is so important. It's another academy team, right? You know, I think we miss those. I think it's going to hopefully attract more North American viewers towards Contenders Korea as well. I think that's going to be exciting. But I mean, one thing that instantly sticks out to me is how much talent O2 Blast has had in the past couple of years and how much talent they have right now. They've got O2 Boss as their current head coach. They've got Heesang, who I was pointing out last time. So, they potentially got a Star Summer player next year, maybe 2 years down the line. You know, you're setting yourself up for a long period of time if you have O2 Blast as your academy team. I think it's a very good deal for them. They already picked up 3 players from O2 Blast as well, so they already have a good relationship. So why not make it a bigger partnership? I don't see any negatives to this whatsoever.
Which, if you're curious on, go watch last week's episodes. We're talking about all the rookies. We'll talk about those players that did go to San Francisco Shock. All right, sorry, shameless self plug. I thought it was a good opportunity.
I love it.
I'm trying to get better at this thing, you know.
Yeah.
All right.
I have one more note as well on this. I mean, Shock have won the league twice in 4 seasons. You know, people thought they potentially could go for a three-peat in the previous season. Of course, stopped by Shanghai. This is a good response. Yeah. For people, if you're looking to start dynasty in this league, this is a good start.
And this is actually it's a good point, because if you look back to the first and second years of Shock, when they picked up Super as a relatively new prospect, and they picked up a certain 31 and DPS player as a young prospect looking to age into the league, like that's
both of which were underage at the time.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're picking up they can't win for us now, but let's give them some time, some resources, get them up the curve, and we get a winning team, and they did that. And then I think they maybe rested on the laurels a little bit. They looked to pick up established talent moving into last season, and it just wasn't quite there for them. I agree. This could be a really, really big step up for them.
I think that they're going to be scary this year.
I think they're going to be very scary this year. I think that this is also going to lend itself to what we saw as far as a lot of NA pickups this year coming from the contender scene. I think that this puts a bigger microscope and a bigger lens on the APAC region, Korea in particular. Man, this could only be good as far as kind of shoring up the Path2Pro system. Yeah. You've got an OWL team going down to Korea saying, hey, we're going to make this pipeline for these players. Now, will we see the same thing in America? I'm hoping, and I agree with what Joker actually says in our chat here, leading to more academy teams. I think that is something that is sorely missed. I think it gives you that pipeline. I think it gives you that training ground. I mean, you do it in all the other major conventional sports. You have training leagues, or you have, minor leagues, as it were. This is a chance or collegiate. I mean, collegiate, I'm considering part of the minor esports ecosystem now, because we're seeing them come from the collegiate team, ISU, notwithstanding. We're seeing people being really groomed in the art of Overwatch for our beloved game and being able to get into these things. So I think that this is a perfect response, not only for the Shock in general, but also as far as them moving forward and getting this pipeline started. I think that's really where we need to go.
We'll touch on this a little bit later. We're going to expand on this a little later.
We actually missed something. We actually missed something in our news. I've just noticed that T1 announced their roster for the year, and we just completely don't have it in our list at all. And the reason I'm highlighting
for this thing.
The reason I'm highlighting
resident here, or not resident,
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention it. I'm like, look. I messaged it on our group chat. But anyways, the Incendia support line from last season is on the T1 roster this year. So that's pretty exciting for me.
Gotcha. There's the link.
There it is.
Ashiseo. Okay, yeah. I mean,
what's their Twitter? Yeah. I'll pull it up real quick.
It should be at T1 Esports.
No, it's at capital T number 1. Yeah, they got a real good handle.
That is just posh.
It's a really good roster.
Capital T number 1.
I'm a big fan.
Yep.
Ocean, what do you before he gets it up here? I mean, obviously you're just blooming with pride that members of Incendia got picked up by a very good Oregon T1. What do you think their chances are of maybe flipping the scene in Korea, going into the next level of or the next iteration of Contenders Korea?
I think they're a good team. I think Nice is a good player, Klessen's a good player. Like it's a good roster, and Frong and Peach, of course, the two Incendia players who are essentially the support line of T1. They've got good synergy. I think that we probably could have placed top 6 last season. I think we were unfortunate against WGS, and you're picking up potentially a top 6 support line. Nice is already potentially one of the better players in the entirety of Korea. You're going to be, I think, T1 versus O2 Blast versus Talon versus Team CC. Those are the 4 teams that I'm really watching. But I think T1 are definitely cemented as a top 4 team with that roster.
Fantastic. Love it. Love it.
Last minute addition. See, we got to stay flexible, friends. We got to stay flexible.
I can't believe I didn't clock on to that until right now. We're talking about Contenders.
You've got access to the run of show. Like, go plug it.
I forgot.
Go plug it in the news. We're community run. Well, by community I mean the 4 of us. Like it's not just one person writing the run of show. Please go put stuff in there. No, it's all right. We got it in there. It works. It works.
So we can actually have a look at getting into some of our pre-planned topics rather than just news now. So I think the big one is the Berry Blast community tournament that happened last weekend and the weekend before. We went into that 2 weeks ago. Just in fact, the day before that was due to kick off. And I was lucky enough to be involved for a couple of days of that, in fact, half the broadcast. And a lot of upsets. I think that things happening people weren't maybe expecting. There may be some fairly straightforward explanations for that. But overall, a very enjoyable weekend and a good little window into what we can expect from some of these tier 2, established tier 2 rosters coming into next season.
Absolutely. And just in case you didn't know the format, the first weekend was kind of tier 3 teams planned to see who was going to move on, and top 4 teams moved on into weekend number 2, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes, although Best Buds weren't able to make it, and so Bearclaw Esports were given that 4th space, which turned out real good for them.
Oh, they were given that 4th space.
I think I'm remembering that correctly.
I think they got 3rd.
Part of that?
According to the info I had, Bearclaw got 3rd in the first weekend.
Then I might be getting my teams.
But it still has Best Buds listed as 4th, so I don't know. This is Twitlonger coming out from Jang. Just kind of thanking everybody, but kind of listed the teams at the bottom here. But
there's a reasonable chance I got which team was brought in to replace Best Buds in week 2.
There you go.
Regardless, it was still a very, very good weekend for Bearclaw Esports last weekend, because they came away 3rd in a tournament that had Redbird and Solaris and Maryville University and a lot of Wisp. Lots of really big team names, and Bearclaw Gaming, a fairly solid tier 3 team. And to come away from that beating ISU Redbirds, that's pretty phenomenal stuff.
That is quite phenomenal.
Yeah. I think I enjoyed watching them. They were really, really fun to watch, so I don't want this to come across as a criticism of the team, but I think they were helped along quite a bit by the format of the tournament. So the lower bracket up until I believe losers might even have been losers.
It
finals.
included losers finals. Yeah, the entire lower bracket.
Yeah, best of 1. So 1 round of control, and that was it. And Bearclaw looked really, really good, really well practiced. Some unusual compositions. Their Symmetra Doomfist Rush was very good, very fun to watch, very practiced. And yeah, they made that all the way up to 3rd place. Second place even.
Second place.
Massive love to Astronex, former CGL.
I love Astro. Astro's awesome. A really nice gamer.
My Canadian brother from another mother had tried to teach me how to play tank many, many moons ago, and really
didn't take it.
Not really. We'll get into that later, but still, Astronex has made the swap over to PC realm and has absolutely had a fun time. And seeing him with Bun and Zira, hello, two of my favorite players in the tier 3
Bun's
scene.
awesome as well.
Bun and Zero are, I mean, Zero's Tracer. If they get just a little bit less dive happy and not having the ability to get back out of a position that they can't get them extricate themselves out of, will be serious tier 2 talent very soon. I think Zero and Bun are both 16 respectively. So, whoo boy.
Yeah, and honestly, just to add to that, watching Bun play Sombra amongst a bunch of other things, so a really, really good showing, a very strong showing against, again, very well-respected, established Tier 2 contenders, trials players. Like, looking forward to seeing how much further they can get with that.
I mean, I can remember clear Zira and Bun from Gorilla Grip Gaming, the GGG.
Yep. And No Evil.
Heck yeah!
From the Tournament of Champions back in the day on Elo Hell. I mean, that's where I got my first look at them, and I was very impressed with them back then. So, man, I mean, people that we've been casting now for 2 years, starting to make the moves, starting to get their act together, starting to find the cohesion in their teams. I think the Bear Claw Gaming, they had Infected as their main tank at one point. Astronex, I know plays ball a lot now, but their Reinhardt is absolutely disgusting. I have to throw that out there just because I love playing Reinhardt, and he's actually really good at it, and he taught me how to do a 180 flip shadow block.
Very nice.
So,
you bait him by turning around, flip around, put your shoulder.
Current roster, because Bun, I remember, No Evil was the team they played on the trials on. Which really cool. Astronex is probably my favorite console player other than Doomed, but of course Doomed's also made it up here, so I'm excited.
He's not on Wispedilor though.
Yeah, I know. But also on the list that we have currently on the screen, G4 Strider, really good wrecking ball player, that is a player that excites me as well. Just instantly caught my eye, and I wanted to comment on Strider.
Yeah, one of our friends, Airborne, that was his team, and Strider was a fantastic wrecking ball.
Also has involvement with Dice, but
yep.
I suppose it's slightly remiss of us to spend so much time on Bear Claw Gaming, as good as it was to see them play. Of course, it was Solaris that took the whole thing. And we were sort of having a bit of a chat about this because I, again, recognize the name Solaris. I know some of the people involved with Solaris relatively well, but I was not expecting them to make quite the level of showing that they made here today. And again, especially in a bracket that had Redbird ISU in it. Like,
Redbird is diminished. We have to admit that Redbird, I mean, they lost, 2/3 of their roster to Owl. So I mean, there's going to be a rebuilding phase.
With him anymore.
Yeah, Luke Mino went over to Maryville, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's
right. Got a picture with Luke Mino up in Normal, Illinois, when I had my trip up there. Luke Mino was one of the, I mean, other than Hydron, Hydron was very engaging now with the Florida Mayhem, but Luke Mino really took the time to explain why he is as far as a support player. I would expect to see Luke Mino really progress into Owl probably in the next iteration of the Overwatch League. But yeah, I mean, ISU is diminished right now. And they're trying to get their synergy together.
It's still a good roster.
They don't have a bad roster. No, I mean, Iron, Gig, hello? Echo and Liar.
Pascal's very proud, by the way.
Yeah,
just a note.
Liar is the one that is kind of the because you can have kind of very vacillating performances out of that player. But when Liar's on, Liar is one of the best supports. It just depends on how much they're engaged in the game. That is a very true statement, and I'm going to stand by it.
I think Redbird is still going to be scary. Like that's.
I think they'll be good.
I think they'll be good.
But I think something to talk about is there's two other collegiate teams that could be better than them, right? Maryville and Northwood, right? So we got Kaluge and Iced in particular on Maryville's roster that really excite me, and then Northwood is landing, and any team. Oh, again, Mino, good value point. But Northwood, I'm a big Landon fan. I've always been a big Landon fan.
I think that Mikey's a better main tank than Cameron, though. The Scottish main tank. I think
Mikey's actually a little bit better.
I think Mikey's a little bit better. I think he's less prone to super aggro. and will stay with the team and actually do the things that the main tank needs to do, take space when they need to. But
well, and
I mean, I love Cameron. I love him as a person, but I think that Mikey just slightly edges him out.
Well, we'll see how they choose to use the, they have with 2 main tanks, and for who knows how long we're going to be on Overwatch 1 before things start crossing over and with all that going on. But there is some built-in synergy here. For however long we have 2 tanks left, you'll notice that Mikey and Collegiate have been together on Bobby Wasabi, on Dark Mode, and on Ardor all together. So, I mean, you already have that built-in synergy, which I'm just going to miss so dearly. Oh, my goodness. And so we'll see. I'm looking forward to the squad. Maryville, they're going to be strong. From what I have heard, and there was some bias in what I heard, but Redbird and Maryville are basically the 2 top of the hill right now as far as Collegiate goes. That Northwood's changes has kind of diminished their roster a little bit as well. We did not see Northwood in this particular tournament. And Maryville surprisingly didn't make it very far. Now, one thing, a little asterisk for this whole thing is
Maryville went out to Death Computer.
Yes, yeah. But that's okay. Good point. Hey, Death Computer's been around. Like, I could see them placing top 2 in OD and making it to trials. They have a good run. Like, they really get their shit together. They could have a good run through OD. Death Computer has been doing it for a bit. But the asterisk part was you don't know how seriously some of these teams are playing. In these community events, they're not going as sweaty as you might for OD or for trials or for something that has a little bit more gravity behind it. We saw some of the teams kind of messing around a little bit. We saw the teams having some fun. We saw, and it may have been a little trolling. It may have been, some dances going on at times. Like there was definitely some fun had by all. So I don't know how much weight, especially again with a best of 1 format going through losers bracket. I don't know how much weight I would put on, Redbird getting 3rd and Maryville getting beat by Death Computer, but it's still worth noting. And I think it says more about Death Computer than it says less about Maryville, if that came out right.
Yeah.
I mean, but this really leads into, our first main topic of the day. It's our first look at Tier 2 2022. The collegiate scene is definitely going to be a part of at least here in North America, it's going to be part of our landscape as far as what we are going to expect from these Tier 2 teams. Solaris coming out, though, I'm definitely impressed with what we saw from them. I'm excited. I think that there's going to be a definite homogenization between the collegiate scene and the traditional contenders scene. I think this is the year where everything kind of starts to mix together and starts getting together in a nice little braise and, starts stewing together and gets all the flavors melded together. That's what I'm really looking for. So I'm so excited to see what it's going to become of Tier 2. This is going to be the best year.
ISU Redbird were, regardless of your opinion of sort of how they came by their success, a real shot in the arm for the collegiate scene because it was such an apparent sort of Cinderella story of collegiate to Tier 2 to losing most of the roster to Overwatch League.
Yep.
And so all eyes currently on collegiate. And I know that as we were sort of getting warmed up and getting started here, Ethan, you're maybe a little less keen on collegiate than some of the rest of us in this call today.
Let me interject for just a moment. Are we moving on? There's nothing else to say on Barry Blast?
I need to talk about Solaris.
Because this is a whole can of worms that we can get into. So
I want to talk about Solaris though before we move on.
All right. Yeah. Let's touch on the team that actually won Barry Blast real quick, and then we'll delve into this topic because there is a lot to unpack in the collegiate T2 scene and what lies ahead of us and where it could go. So I want to make sure we have plenty of room to talk about that, and we'll move on to that as an entirely new topic in just a moment. But yes, Ocean, by all means, Solaris, what made him so good this weekend?
I mean, I want to talk about Solaris not just from this weekend. I think Solaris are going to be the team to beat in NA this time around. I think this year they're going to be awesome. Last year, you may remember, they had a wobbly start when they started off as Ardor. They bought a trial spot, didn't do very well in trials, then bought a contender spot, didn't do very well in contenders, right? Not great for them to start. But then they fixed a lot of their mistakes over the year, and they became a very good solidified team. They rebounded to Solaris. They've got a really good media team. They fixed all of their mistakes. They look great going into next year. And I think this is a good start for them. They have a really good Halo project. All of their projects are going well right now, or they had a really good Halo project. I'm not sure if it's still with them, but everything is going well for them. They also, I believe, are making some good moves in APAC, or attempting to. I mean, I'm excited for Solaris as an org, as a team. I think they're the team to beat in NA this year.
Yeah. Could we have a quick talk about the Jeff? I don't know if you've actually got this to bring up on screen, but the actual roster. Oh, you do. I was not looking at our little preview here. So yeah, the roster for Solaris. Always happy to see Icy back in the mix. Like,
yes,
the Icy decode era of NA Tier 2 feels like a very long time ago, and it feels like a entirely different world, entirely different game. Great to see that Icy is still in a position to come in and put in a carry level performance in a tournament like this.
Can we talk about the Rack Attack? The Rack family?
I like that support line so much. I love that support line. Yeah. Lantern and Rack Attack. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Like, go, Billy. I was waiting for you. Like,
I was trying to let somebody else go there, but I mean, Rack, especially with the family connection that is always in chat. I think they actually feed off that. Any team that Rack Attack is on, I think that the team gets the love from Mom. And from Mom Kim, and looking at sister Nikki. Nikki is always in the chat giving the love and getting the Rack Attack going on. So I think that Rack Attack and Landon was kind of underrated, but has really come into their own. So I think that these two together, they probably will have the ability to not only keep the team alive during important fights, because we've seen multiple times Rack Attack especially save a team from getting absolutely decimated with an ultimate or a providential use of a no mortality barrier. But I think that Landon has that bloodthirsty streak in him. Rack definitely has that bloodthirsty streak in him. I think if they go in tandem, this might be a support line that could actually decimate and own the entirety of Contenders NA. If they play within their realm and know when they can do the things that they are absolutely capable of doing, you will be looking at potentially a changing of the guard. I am looking at Slept On, also previously known as Dice Gaming, our friend Airborne, previously known as UDG. Moser is down there. Yeah. Moser is one of my favorite supports here in NA as well. So I think this season right now, if we're looking at just support lines going across the realm, I think Solaris has the best one. Luke Mino notwithstanding, man, Rack Attack and Landon together, that could be the line that rules them all. One line to rule them all, and yeah, you don't get to go to Mordor.
It's a good team. I just wanted to highlight Rhino, because Rhino's been playing since he was 13 in T2. Man. Like, at that high a level, is now 15. To think that
only
this kid...
3 more years.
Yeah, exactly. To think that this kid won't even be eligible for OWL for 3 years is nuts. And watching the growth from Rhino has been phenomenal, and was clearly having fun in this tourney. We just saw some just wild Narnia pins and trying to hide in funny places and do some cheesy stuff. But I mean, that's the community tournament. They're having a little fun with it, but seriously strong. King and Dove is the other one. That DPS line is nasty. I became a fan of Dove and Dynasty when they played together a lot. They went to Uprising Academy at the end of 2020. When Uprising Academy was still kind of finding their footing a little bit, and we're pretty hard stuck in trials. Let's not beat around the bush here. And then Dove and Dynasty joined the group and propelled them up to. They had a great performance at 2020 Gauntlet, and Dove and Dynasty were a big part of that. You will see Dynasty down here on Slipton's roster. Also plays for Northwood University, as a matter of fact, as well. But Dove was pretty nasty this tournament. King as well. I forgot how good King was. And maybe just had a spectacular weekend, was just in the zone for this weekend. But King's Tracer and Doom were filthy. Were absolutely filthy. So it's all around Solaris. So far, that's like our number one team, I think, to keep an eye on going into the 2022 T2 season. And kind of the team to beat right now, which if you asked me 6 months ago who was going to be the front runner going into 2022, Solaris would not have been the first name on my tongue. I can tell you that right now.
I want to throw out Petal. just real quick too. Pedal is one of my favorite engagements as far as a social discourse.
Plays on UTV.
Yeah. I tell you what, Pedal's somebody to look out for as well. Has 9,000 IQ as far as a tier 2.5 player. I think a little bit more groom and a little bit more polish on the DPS role, and I think that they have a definite possibility of turning this league on its head with the hero pool that Pedal has. I have to throw it out there. The hero pool that Pedal has is vast and very well versed on all of them. I think if you maybe knock out one or two of them and just really focus in on what you got, I think he becomes a fantastic carry for Slept On.
Well, if we've got nothing else to add about Berry Blast Tournament, that felt fairly comprehensive. Let's move on to the next item in our run of show. For the last item in the run of show, I'll first look at Tier 2 2022, which is a nice introduction there from Berry Blast, and then a bit of a deeper look at Collegiate. So, who wants to kick this one off?
I'll kick this off because we are starting to see a lot more crossover. We're talking about Solaris and Slept On's roster just now. You're looking at players from both of those teams who are playing for Northwood University. And they're playing on some of these quote unquote T2 teams alongside playing on collegiate teams as well. Northwood has traditionally been very dominant. They got first at the Overwatch Homecoming. They got second at the Overwatch Collegiate Cup. Super strong team. There have been some changes, but it's the strength of Northwood is not really my point. My point is how Collegiate is starting to creep into our scene, and that this is nothing but greatness for the Path to Pro. And I think the lines are really starting to blur between these two. And yes, ISU Redbird Esports certainly had some lightning in a bottle with picking up the players that they did, 4 of which moving on to Overwatch League, and really making a big splash in that regard. But I think that's just the beginning. I think it's the start of something beautiful. Yeah. And there's a reason these players from what was already the top team in T2 North America, American Tornado, there's a reason these players went to a college to continue their careers. And it worked out for them. It paid off for them in the best way possible for 4 of them. But the others are still getting scholarships. They're still getting education. There's still room for growth beyond the esports scene or even in different areas of the esports scene, depending on what they want to major in. I think the collegiate stepping up more and more will expand the life of players all around. We're starting to see older players get picked up. It will create careers beyond esports. This is a beautiful thing and something I really would like to delve in a little bit more. And I'll pass off the talkie stick while I change our topic down at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, I did wonder if that had been caught. Yeah, good on you. One of the things that I do want to talk about with regards to the collegiate scene is the wealth of opportunities that you have to play. Because I thought to myself, it would be fun if we could keep track of who's playing what, who's doing well in which particular tournaments, and I am aware of 4, each with its own different bookkeeping system for how it wants to record wins and losses that I'm trying to consolidate into one tool. So yeah, I think let's have a look. So we've got NACE Star League, ECAC, EGF, NECC. Those are the ones that I've got. I'm confident I've missed at least one. And if you look at the number of teams, particularly like the different rosters from within each university playing across different tournaments, we have 213 collegiate sides currently playing in NA. Like that is a ridiculous amount.
UGC Unified are also running collegiate events. I was half asleep when you asked for those names.
Yeah,
and I threw out a Rocket League one.
Yeah, it's like yeah. Give me a list of all the collegiate names that you know. Yeah, here's this Rocket League one. Okay, technically correct. Technically correct. Not what I was after, though.
I mean, we can continue to build upon this, but I think the collegiate scene. Here's something that I was driving home from driving my husband to work tonight. I just thought about this. It's like, right now I think it's quantity over quality. I think some of these
brave for someone that's casting few of these.
But I don't care.
I agree with him.
I
so
don't
I'm
care.
gonna
I
I'm
don't care.
jumping on this bus with you, Billy. So let's go.
Yeah, let's go. I think that we need to have more quality in the representation of the collegiate scene rather than the quantity of everybody, going out there and getting whatever colleges they can get. While I don't disparage the fact that maybe certain organizations or production houses cannot get the big names that you're looking at, NACE, ECAC, EGF. I still think that you have to have some kind of quality barrier there, and you're not seeing the same kind of results from, let's say, the top 3 of the collegiate people that are putting out these productions. So I think that we need to slow down a little bit, because everybody's like, oh, collegiate, holy shit, we got to get on this bandwagon. And then the production fails, or the representation and the promotion of these leagues fails.
But that's where to counter the point. I'm sorry, I cut you off. I apologize. That was very rude of me.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, to counter that point, is I think we need a unifying front. I think we need more of a home for these teams, particularly the top tier ones, that would include good production, that would include a steady schedule. I actually had a big conversation with Coach Flutie from Redbird Esports this morning about this whole topic. And she had some amazing suggestions and was very passionate about this subject. And one of those suggestions was aligning your contender season with the school seasons, with the school semesters. Like these teams have not played, there haven't been an open division since school started back in September. Like these teams have not had a chance to get involved in this. The only reason Redbird got in is because they had the team put together before the season started, before the semester began. But if you start aligning contenders and Path2Pro, the official contender season from September to May, then you're going to get a lot more school interaction and a lot more change with that. And also, you're going to be running contenders during the off season of OWL. This means during this drought, this is when we're getting all the contenders play. This is when we're getting a bunch of content coming out of the 5 regions. I mean, maybe even just the 1 region. Let's say it's just NA. And one of the things I wanted to kind of throw out here and discuss in a little bit is perhaps separating NA from EU. Like, do we need to have them happening on the same exact days every time? Like, is that... Anyway, just a food for thought that we can dive into as much or as little as y'all want to in a bit. But... go ahead. No, please.
I think on that specific point, I think one of the reasons historically that we've always had, at the very least, NA and EMEA on the same day is because of the way that the 2 sort of prime viewing hours overlap, and the fact that you can make a certain amount of effort saving by having one broadcast, one production house that just does a block of programming, even with that, casters cycling in and out, observers cycling in and out. So I think it's just the path of least resistance to have them on the same day. I don't think there's a real need to have them on the same day. It just may continue to be easier to do it that way.
Well, and my question is, does that make for the best product? Like, I mean, would it be better for your casters? I mean, knowing what we do to prep for matches, for productions, for broadcasts, would it be better if you just focused on NA for a week and then focus on EU for a week? And that is your focus. You can still run them in the same time slots, but you still have the same amount of gigs for your casters, so the casters aren't losing any screen time and still get the gigs that they need to put food on the table. But and again, now this also comes into the point of where EU doesn't have the same kind of collegiate scene as NA. So I mean, there may be some. It would take some working out.
I would like to interject in a second. I just don't think that you can align. I mean, you can maybe general month to month align with how the school system is over in the US. But we have the Oceanic region, we have China, we have Korea, we have Europe. There's 4 other regions to think about here. In my personal opinion, if you're going to align the line and try and move broadcast dates, I think it sounds not almost selfish, but it doesn't sound like you're incorporating. It's very NA-centric, yeah.
Which I think is a trap that it's easy for us to fall into, because we are 50% NA, natives and 25% someone that happens to live in the right time zone to be on top of NA broadcaster. So that's the thing that we, I think, as a show, need to be a little bit careful not to let our bias the show. But unfortunately, right now, there's nothing else happening. Like, the only thing going on with the tier 2 scene right now, aside from the community tournaments, is collegiate. And so we're a little bit stuck at the minute talking about and focusing on, and then naturally having all of our points drift towards like, oh, wouldn't this be great for the one thing that's currently happening that we can talk about? I think once everything starts back up again, once we have an idea of what Path2Pro looks like in 2022, we get a better idea of what the best way to run this is. And for now, all we can do is, finger in the air, speculate, really.
I think it's interesting speculation, though.
Yeah, agreed.
And I think there's a lot of benefits to it. I think there's a lot of benefits to what was proposed in this conversation. And again, this is suggestions that were coming from a coach that's from one of these collegiate scenes. So, and I wanted to give that voice a place to be heard and get that suggestion out there, because I think shakeups are required. I mean, T2 has been dying a slow death, and if we think just introducing Overwatch 2 is suddenly going to bring back academy teams and save it, I don't think that's the answer. So maybe drastic changes are what is called for to make this happen. And that's, I mean, there was talks in that conversation that the academy team model was always doomed to fail, was always a dumb idea, was always going to be an absolute money drain on the teams involved. Colleges have funding. Colleges give out scholarships. Scholarships can give education and degrees and provide something extremely substantial for these esports professionals that are looking to take their careers further. And I think it's a topic worth really exploring and really delving into. And there's other problems that are kind of NA centric, such as, I mean, apparently the cost of players is something that I just learned today. The cost of players is drastically different in NA than what we see coming out of Korea.
Drastically cheaper, and that's because players aren't contracted for the most part, as far as I'm aware. Like some of them will. I mean,
you say drastically cheaper. I feel, from what I understand, it's like spikes. Like Reiner, I don't think was cheap. UV wasn't cheap, but everybody.
Oh yeah, no.
You know what I mean? Like the players that are desirable are really expensive. There's a gap. And then there's everybody else.
Massive gap.
Yeah,
but it's all consistent in Korea because everyone's contracted. Everyone takes esports seriously.
It's a cultural difference once again. I mean,
yeah, I think it's a cultural thing.
I also think that Korea and China versus NA, they pay their players. They make sure that they can subside upon what they're doing as far as pushing towards an esports career. So that's a big thing that needs to change here. I mean, you want to talk about shakeups? I think that the collegiate players need to be paid by the Path2Pro system.
Scholarships, a lot of them are.
Scholarships, good. I still think they need some kind of a stipend. I mean, why not give them a stipend?
Oh, you start crossing into dangerous territory there.
No. If you're going to do it for football players, which is going to happen next year,
they're actually going to pay collegiate NFL.
They're going to give FCS teams a stipend. They're also going to be able to use their likenesses for, like, say, EA Sports and a NCAA football 2022 or 23. They're also going to do it for baseball. They're also going to do it for basketball. So all these players are going to start getting dividends upon their likenesses and being able to sell their merch. So that is a big change that is coming here in America. That's where I want to look in, because if that's going to happen, then absolutely give these collegiate esports players some kind of a monthly stipend to compensate for their time, compensate for them pulling in the ratings for the production houses, because production houses cannot do shit without the players on the screen and their personalities and their social media presence. You cannot subsist without the players on the screen. They need to have the same amount of money.
I mean, that's a long time controversial topic in
the
States.
I have 2 notes on this. For example, I was obviously involved in APAC last season. We paid our players in Korea over Schnapp time, but we had a consistent income, right? We paid our players, I believe, the least amount. We paid each player 250 GBP per month. That we were in contenders, or the contender season lasted. So sorry, we were obviously only there for the first month, but we paid them next 2 months as well. And we also gave consistent payments before the season started, while we were going for trials, while we were going through tier 3 in Korea as well. So that doesn't happen in NA, and the reason it doesn't happen in NA is I think cultural thing is the best way to put it. I don't think esports is taken as seriously in North America I mean, you saw, for example, the last OD final we had a team just not show up because they didn't want to play Redbirds. Like, that would never happen in Korea.
But see, to me, the answer to a lot of these problems is college. College have money. They are seriously funded institutions that give money, that get money from the government, and that have the money to spend on these teams and potentially pay players. Again, I think that's a whole other controversial topic, but at least to offer scholarships in to do things of that nature. I mean, that's been a long time conversation as far as for traditional sports of does it affect the purity of it all and this kind of thing when you start paying college kids. But there's also the argument that a lot of colleges make, I mean, just buku millions and millions of dollars off of the faces of their students, particularly in the football scene. But I think Collegiate is an answer to a lot of this. They're going to take it seriously. ISU took it seriously. I mean, and that's Northwood takes it very seriously. Maryville takes it very seriously.
So does Northwood.
One thing that I wanted to, it's a slight tangent here, so I apologize this because it marries up with some of what I'm seeing in chat here, is that the thing that is incredibly subtle here and is very difficult to communicate to people who don't have a foot in a lot of different regions of play is just how big the cultural difference behind esports is between Korea, NA, Europe, China. So for a long time now, for upwards of a decade, professional esports player, professional esports broadcaster has been a legitimate and respected path in Korea. It's a thing that the government recognizes as an important part of its economy. It's a big contributor, and so there are more resources available. There are culturally more places you can go to play on a PC if you don't have a PC. PC ban culture is a thing in Korea. It's not really a thing. We do have PC cafes in EU. We do have them in NA. But I grew up, okay, I'm old, so I grew up without like a family computer. I didn't have a gaming PC up until about 6 years ago because it was just, who has room for that one? If I had the time and the opportunity to go to a PC bang and, get more inured in this sort of thing, who knows how much further along in my pro gamer career I would have been, or whatever it was that I chose to do in that particular avenue, right? And then in NA, like the model for all of this is, as we've been sort of harking on here, is what is happening in the meat sports space and trying to replicate that. And I think there are some good things that happen in the meat sports space, and I think there's some very, very bad things that happen in the meat sports space. And we have adopted about 50% of each in Overwatch, some of which we need to do more of, some of which we need to do substantially less of. So for those of you that are like in the chat or just generally saying, it's not fair that Koreans come here and take up all the NA jobs and teams going full Korean, like the reason teams go full Korean is not because there is some mythical Korean gene controlling all of this. It's because there is the grassroots and societal infrastructure to make this a viable option. And we are always going to be behind Korea as long as we don't have those things in place.
Yeah, very good point. One thing that I'm kind of thinking of, just as a massive fan of it, I would watch CS:GO esports, I would watch a little bit of Valorant, whatever. I would never really watch a collegiate Valorant broadcast, but I would watch a big org play. And I'm kind of wondering the different aspects of, would people want to go and watch Contenders NA from Europe if it's a collegiate team or if it's a big org like, say, Solaris, right? I mean, like, I'd rather watch Solaris than a random collegiate team. You know what I mean? I feel like viewership-wise. But then also there's a stark contrast point that I actually just thought of while thinking about this, is Team Diamond or GC Busan in Korea. Lots of people from Busan want to go and support that team. Yeah. So maybe people from Illinois want to support ISU. So that's a flip side, but I think it's a dangerous game you're playing here when if everything goes towards collegiate in North America, are people going to really, outside of America, watch that?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's where building a reputation comes in. And if those are the top teams, I don't see why not. I don't see whether it's called Redbirds or American Tornado, is one going to pull more viewership than the other because the other is tied to a collegiate team.
To be honest. I think, I would rather watch a team called American Tornado than Illinois because I feel more attachment to it.
That's why so many people in Europe are fans of Paris Eternal and London Spitfire, because you have that sort of regional attachment to it. Whether or not that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah, it doesn't, but it's there.
Yeah. Okay,
I'm loving
think
the chat. I'm loving the chat right now. By the way, Matt is going off in the chat right now, and I have to point it out. Danger is my middle name.
But I think we need to be a little bit careful here, guys, because resident.
We got a hard out.
Yeah, we got a hard out. I'm afraid we've got
duties,
children to look after. One of us does. We're just going to go. We're just going to go and have a drink. There's only a couple of things left in the run of show. We do have a tier 2 tweet of the week, and I'm not even slightly ashamed to say that I've given tier 2 tweet of the week to myself this week.
It's a good tweet.
Because I thought it was a good tweet, and it's gaining some traction, and it doesn't happen often, so I'm highlighting it here. So go and go.
I love you for this tweet, by the way.
Thank you.
Wait! You gotta drop me a link. I was not prepared for this. I'm sorry.
It's in the run of show.
It's in the run of show.
It is in the run of show. Okay.
Come on, guys.
So,
have a link.
I suck.
Wow. You yell at me for not having the run of show up.
I had it up. I just missed it because I'm an idiot. That's all there is to it. Big time. Wait, hold on. You have to give me a second to get it up there.
Just the comedic timing on all of this is phenomenal.
Oh my goodness!
This is why I love having 2 Brits or 2 UK-based people. My God, I love
whilst we're getting that lined up, Billy, I guess. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in to join us. Thank you again to Glitch Lake City on Twitter and on YouTube for letting us use her remix of the King's Row theme as the intro and outro theme for the show. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with a topic we've yet to determine, although there's a pretty good chance we might have a special guest on the next episode. Let's not confirm anything just yet, but that could be lots of fun. And anything else anyone wants to say before we close? I'm working on the
other half of the ISU squad there.
Okay.
I'll just leave it at that. That's who I'm working on, trying to get here for the show in 2 weeks. I won't say the name because we don't need to say the name.
And if there's
when we get there,
friends out there, if there's anybody you would like to see from the T2 scene, if there's some, even if it's just a general statement, like coaches, players, casters, let us know what you're interested in. Like it's helpful to have that kind of feedback. So I'll just go ahead and put that out there. Feel free to hit us up on Twitter or put it in chat, put it in the comments below. What kind of guests would you like to see?
Yeah. We are also hoping in the next couple of weeks to open up a Map5Podcast Discord, so that if you want to keep in touch with us there, we can do that. Again,
absolutely.
Have a look at social media. When that's ready, we'll put out something.
That's my goal for next week, is to get that fully put together. So, fingers crossed we get it there. And we will leave you with our T2 tweet of the week. This one coming from Big Hungry Phil directly. Phil, this is pretty awesome. Sigma is now immune to crown control.
Finally. As a proud, the good kind of Republican, it warms my heart.
I'm so sick of the monarchy waltzing into my games of Overwatch and taking over my off take.
It was good. It
was great. It's fantastic. I loved it from the second I saw it.
Fantastic.
Oh, my God.
Oh, well, that's going to do it for us this week, friends. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, guys. Love y'all.
Bye.